Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, police questioning the parents of a little girl who drowned in a cesspit. Scores of Haitian migrants apprehended off the coast of Abaco. The latest numbers from the Department of Statistics show a 2% spike in inflation. This as government seeks guidance on increasing the minimum wage. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on MB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to MB12. The search for a missing 6-year-old little girl ended in tragedy last night after her body was found in a cesspit. Police say the little girl was playing with several other children on Winstead Avenue off East Street South when she went missing. Chief Superintendent of Police Stephen Dean said relatives and residents filed a missing persons report at around 6 p.m. and created a search party to find the little girl.
And they mounted a search party in the area in an attempt to find this young girl. The search intensified. The police were called. Police brought in their K9 unit to assist with the search. And just over an hour ago, police were able to locate the body with the assistance of the K9 unit in a cesspit just rear of a church building. Police are actively investigating this matter, and we are interviewing a number of persons to determine how this could have happened.
Now, police say an autopsy will be conducted to determine the exact cause of death, but police are sending out this message to parents of young children.
While we are investigating, the police must put out the appeal to parents and adults and persons who and guardians who are responsible for little children, that little children must not be left unattended. They must be in the care and the eyesight of parents or adults at all times. The responsibility of these children cannot be left on their own. It's non-negotiable. So we are putting out the warning to persons to please know where your children are every time, every hour, and every minute.
And police say they're questioning a number of people in relation to this death. And police are also investigating a shooting incident that's left 4 men in hospital. Reports are that shortly after 1:30 this morning, 4 men were at a club on Wolf Road when an altercation ensued, resulting in each of them being shot. Police are asking anyone who may have information on this incident to contact them at 328-TIPS. And the Defense Force is reporting the apprehension of 61 Haitian nationals in waters near Abaco early this morning. The authorities say shortly after midnight, Marines aboard the patrol craft HMBS P-48 were collaborating with the Defense Force's satellite base in Abaco when they spotted an American registered vessel just off Snake Key, south of Marsh Harbor, with about 45 men and 11 women and 5 children believed to be Haitian nationals on board. Authorities also apprehended a male occupant of a van that was parked on Snake Key. The detainees are being processed by immigration officials on Abaco. Well, in other news tonight, the first numbers compiled by the Department of Statistics on the effects of value-added tax on the Consumer Price Index are showing a sharp increase in the inflation rate, which jumped from 0.21% in December 2014 to 2.2% in January this year. The latest Consumer Price Index report shows that from December 2014 to January 2015, the cost of food and non-alcoholic beverages increased 8.4%. Alcoholic beverages, tobacco, and narcotics increased by 8%. Furnishings, household equipment, and home maintenance prices increased by 6.4%, and communication increased by 5.3%. However, the biggest jump in cost was in the area of healthcare and services. That increased 10.2% in that 1 month period. Statistician in charge of pricing in the Department of Statistics, Chanel Moss.
Items that contributed to the increase within health were outpatient services, which included services by physicians, dentists, and laboratories. These services experienced an overall increase of 14.1%. Other increases in health were seen in medical products, appliances and equipment, pharmaceutical products, and other medical products.
There were less drastic changes in the cost of certain consumables despite the implementation of value-added tax. However, the cost of housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels increased by 1.1%. Education increased by 0.87%. Clothing and footwear increased by 3.3%. And restaurant and hotel costs increased by 3.25%.
There were increases seen in all categories within food and non-alcoholic beverages. Items such as eggs and egg-based products increased 17.8%, fruits increased 11.6%, fish and seafood products increased 10%, and vegetables increased 8.6%. The transport category, conversely, decreased 1% due to an 8.9% decrease in fuels and lubricants for personal equipment, of which gasoline is included.
Deputy Director of the Department of Statistics, Leona Wilson, said the only major shift in policy for the economy between December and January was the implementation of value-added tax.
Would have to be the fact, because that would be the most significant change that would have happened between December 2014 and January 2015. So, with the introduction of VAT in January, items, the cost of goods to consumers increased 7.5%, and so that would be what the main reasons. Now you see that if you look at the distribution, so certain areas got affected differently than others. As Ms. Moore said, there were some areas where the effect was felt much more than in other areas. So certain areas increased, like in the health, increased much more than in some of the other areas.
Wilson, however, stopped short of making projections on the stability of consumer prices throughout the rest of the year, saying that because value-added tax is a new variable in the Bahamian economy, it's difficult to set a base from which other approximations can be made. She said there's no telling how prices will fluctuate over the course of the year, but there are strong possibilities for further increases and decreases in various consumption categories. Meantime, Labor Minister Shane Gibson recently gave MB12 an update on government's efforts to increase minimum wage, which stands at around $210 per week for public sector employees and $150 per week for private sector workers. Last week, Gibson said he's pushing to have the issue fixed sooner rather than later because thousands of Bahamians are suffocating because of low minimum wage. And earlier this week, the Labor Minister told MB12 that he's awaiting recommendations from the National Tripartite Council on how the government could effectively increase the minimum wage bracket.
When we started talking about the increase in minimum wage early last year, I'd given them several months, maybe in excess of 6 months, to present a recommendation to the government as to what they think the minimum wage should move to. I've not received that recommendation yet. I did speak with the chairman, who's the director of labor, who said that the employers' representatives wanted more time to consider the matter and to get back to the council. I'm not sure why it is that they have not sent me a recommendation yet, but I will be requesting a meeting with them early next week to make sure we bring this matter to a conclusion.
Gibson said he hopes to meet with the council next week, and once government has received all recommendations, it would make a decision.
Well, then the government would have to make a decision. We would use that to frame our decision as to how we would amend the legislation and what we would agree the minimum wage should move to. So we'll use that as a guideline as to what we think the minimum wage should move to at this time, having regard to everything that's happening in the country today. And just let me continue to say, right, the persons who spend most of their earnings are the persons who make the least amount of money. And so if you put more money in circulation, you pay them more money, they will have more money to spend as consumers. I do not buy the point that we should persons who say that we should not move the minimum wage up because most persons are not paid minimum wage. We have lots of individuals who are paid minimum wage. I'm not talking about the persons who are making more than minimum wage, who market forces will dictate the kind of compensation that they would receive.
He added that increasing minimum wage is vital in the Bahamas because he believes it's nearly impossible for Bahamians to survive on their current salaries.
In the Bahamas, I think in most instances, we wait too long until we make decisions to have these sorts of increases. Whether it's increase in taxes or increase in wages, we wait until it gets to a critical point. I think minimum wage should be really reviewed on an annual basis, and maybe once every 3 years, once every 5 years, you allow for adjustments to adjust for the cost of living increase. I just think that this minimum wage has been in place for a long time now. I'm not sure exactly how long, but a long time. And so I think that we need to move quickly because persons who are making a minimum wage, who are making minimum wage, have a difficulty surviving on that. It is almost, well, I would go to the extent to say it's impossible.
And since CIBC First Caribbean International Bank said that it will not accept web shop money even after the legalization of the gaming industry, Prime Minister Perry Christie said the Bank of the Bahamas and at least one other bank would accept the web shop proceeds. And Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis also weighed in on the issue, saying that those institutions have the right to abide by their international policy of not dealing with online gaming and not accepting any industry proceeds.
One of the banks has said is that internationally they have a policy of not dealing with online gaming at all, any online gaming. And so that is their policy. I would say that at least one bank, possibly two, have indicated that they have no issue with it. And so the only thing I can say is, institutions have their policies. When you see other institutions have no difficulty with it, then the patrons and those potential clients have a choice to make.
Christie confirmed on Wednesday outside the House of Assembly that the Bank of the Bahamas and the Royal Bank of Canada would be accepting all web shop proceeds. Stay with us. When MP12 returns, with just under 3 months left until bikini season, we've got the best tips to help you get in with your battle with the bulge. Plus later, we hear from you as you sound off on this week's hot national topics. More on those stories and more when we come right back.